I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy.
And John D. Rockefeller seized U.S. media. He also hijacked U.S. medicine. When it was discovered that drugs should be produced from petroleum, America's top oil monopolist ordered his army of propagandists to invert reality according to
fucking truth. John D. Rockefeller was raised by a psychopath.
The man responsible for enslaving the world. Rockefeller knew nothing about medicine, but he did own a lot of oil. So by bribing governments, health agencies, regulators, and universities, he convinced the world that all medical treatments should be based on petroleum. And thus, Big Pharma was born, responsible for millions of deaths just to make a profit. He also funded the creation of the education system. He was quoted saying, "I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers." The education system you've been through was designed to create obedient workers and to control how we think about the
world. You want the fucking truth? John D. Rockefeller was raised by a psychopath. John D. Rockefeller, a name synonymous with immense wealth, had a tumultuous upbringing. Raised by his father, known as Devil Bill, he was no stranger to a troubled family history. Devil Bill, whose real name was well documented, was a notorious character, a rapist and snake oil salesman on the run from the law. He even changed his name to evade authorities. So John D. Rockefeller, one of his many sons, grew up in a family plagued by such dark deeds. But despite his troubled upbringing, or perhaps because of it, Rockefeller was driven to succeed. His father's mantra was to keep his sons sharp by cheating them daily, eroding their trust. This upbringing instilled in John D. Rockefeller a deep-seated distrust of others. Rockefeller's notoriety reached its peak when he faced a historic antitrust lawsuit for monopolizing the oil industry. This legal battle ultimately led to the breakup of his company, Standard Oil, but paradoxically, it made him a billionaire. His influence didn't stop there. He extended his reach into education, even funding universities. It was clear that Rockefeller had grand ambitions beyond selling oil. He aspired to shape the world. In fact, Rockefeller's influence extended to our education system, thanks to the Rockefeller Foundation. He had a strategic vision for education, to produce individuals just smart enough to work, but not too intelligent to question the system. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a historical fact that highlights the intricate web of influence Rockefeller wove, impacting our education systems even today.
The AMA joined with strong financial forces to transform medicine into an industry. The fortunes of Carnegie, Morgan, and Rockefeller financed surgery, radiation, and synthetic drugs. They were to become the economic foundations of the new medical economy.
The pharmaceutical industry first gained control of the teaching system. Then it gave the AMA the power to exclude all other doctors from practicing. Then it took over the entire drug testing process, while heavily influencing the medical publications that reviewed those drugs. And finally, Big Pharma extended its control over the federal entity that is supposed to verify those drugs' safety and efficacy. At the opposite end are the sick citizens, and in the middle are the doctors who must cure them based on information they can only get from the pharmaceutical industry, which can no longer be verified.
The AMA until the turn of the century. Then, new medical treatments emerged that were potentially very profitable. The AMA joined with strong financial forces to transform medicine into an industry. The fortunes of Carnegie, Morgan, and Rockefeller financed surgery, radiation, and synthetic drugs. They were to become the economic foundations of the new medical economy.
The takeover of the medical industry was accomplished by the takeover of the medical schools. Well, the people that we're talking about, Rockefeller and Carnegie in particular, came to the picture and said, we will put up money. They offered tremendous amounts of money to the schools that would agree to cooperate with them. The donors said to the schools, we're giving you all this money. Now, would it be too much to ask if we could put some of our people on your board of directors to see that our money is being spent wisely? Almost overnight, all of the major universities received large grants from these sources and also accepted 1, 2, or 3 of these people that I mentioned on their board of directors, and the schools literally were taken over by the financial interests that put up the money. Now, what happened as a result of that is that the schools did receive an infusion of money. They were able to build new buildings. They were able to add expensive equipment to their laboratories. They were able to hire top-notch teachers. But at the same time as doing that, they skewed the whole thing in the direction of pharmaceutical drugs. That was the efficiency in philanthropy. The doctors from that point forward in history would be taught pharmaceutical drugs. All of the great teaching institutions in America were captured by the pharmaceutical interests in this fashion. And it's amazing how little money it really took to do it.
Surgery became viable with anesthesia and infection control, and doctors advocated expensive, radical operations. These in turn produced the need for a large, lucrative hospital system. Radium fever swept medicine. The price of radium rose 1,000% almost overnight. Another costly technological industry entered the hospital system. A drug industry grew out of the booming patent medicine business. The doctors changed educational standards and licensing regulations to exclude the empirics. Soon, only AMA-approved doctors could legally practice medicine. In a brief 20 years, the AMA came to dominate medical practice. Organized Medicine launched a media campaign to associate the empirics with quacks. The code word for competition was quackery.
So now, the average doctor goes through school. He gets a great education. He has to be really smart to get through it. He learns all about drugs. He doesn't know too much about basic nutrition. I found that the average wife of these physicians knows more about nutrition than he does. But they sure know their drugs. And if you go to your typical doctor today, I don't care what it is, chances are you're going to walk out of there with a prescription. Why? Because that's what he has been trained to.
Rockefeller was so amazing. He got most people thinking that most of the schools in Atlanta are HBCU schools.
Mm-hmm. Rockefeller?
A lot of people think that Spelman is an HBCU school.
It's not?
Nah. You ready?
Spelman's not an HBCU?
Watch what I'm about to tell you. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Spelman is Rockefeller's wife. They dropped the Rockefeller. It's Spelman.
I don't know if any of this is true, but I'm
You
listening.
better Google it right now. I know what I'm talking about. Spelman is Rockefeller's wife.
Oh, Laura Spelman Rockefeller. Laura Spelman Rockefeller was an American abolitionist, philanthropist, school teacher, and prominent member of the Rockefeller family. Her husband was Standard Oil co-founder John D. Rockefeller. Spelman College in Atlanta, Georgia, and the Lawrence Spelman Rockefeller Memorial were named for her. Okay, you learn something new every day.
So Spelman, the HBCU, is named after a white woman. That's wild. I never knew that.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Ain't that insane?
When did you hear that? Like, what made you do
Years
that
ago,
research?
because I read a lot, and it blew my mind.
In 1884, the school expressed its gratitude for Rockefeller's generosity by changing the name.
Yeah, Spelman
of the school
College was
to
named
Spelman.
after Laura Spelman due to her significant financial contributions to the institution. Throughout her life, Laura Spelman was dedicated to social and educational causes, particularly for women and African Americans.
Yes.
So it's an HBCU. She just donated a lot of money to it. Rockefeller family continues to donate 10% of their income to charity, including substantial donations to Spelman, founded to educate black women.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And other colleges around there.
Okay.
It's just not Spelman.
Morehouse, too. Henry
Yes.
Lyman Morehouse, who was a Baptist minister from Stanford, New York.
Yes.
He's a white gentleman as well.
Yes.
He's a white gentleman.
Why did they name it after him? Did they say?
It doesn't say.
You're going to have me researching this all
Yeah,
day?
you have me
Later on
researching it all
today,
week.
guys.
But at least the world is about to see something that, because I'm quite sure if you don't know.
The Secret Covenant, made by the Kennedy, Onassis, Rockefeller, Russell, Van Dyne, Merovingian, Astor, Bundy, Collins, DuPont, the Rothschilds, and the Orsini family. The Orsinis have had control of the Vatican since its conception.
We will keep their lives short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so that they never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators and sedatives in food and water, as well as in the air. They will be covered in poisons wherever they turn. The soft metals will make them lose their minds. We will promise to find a cure from our many funds, and yet we will give them more poison. Chemical poisons will be absorbed through the skin of idiots who believe that certain hygiene and beauty products presented by great actors and musicians will be eternal youth to their faces and bodies, and through their thirsty and hungry mouths we will destroy their minds and systems of internal organs, reproduction. However, their children will be born as disabled and deformed, and we will hide this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything around them, in what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We have to be ingenious in distributing the poisons because they can see far. We'll teach them that poisons are good, with funny pictures and musical tones on TV. Those who are looking for them will be helpful. We will enroll them to push our poisons. They will see that our products are used in film, and they will get used to them, and they will never know their true effect. When they give birth, we will inject poisons into the blood of their children and convince them that we are helping them. We will start earlier when their minds are young, and we will target their children with what children love most, sweet things. When their teeth decay, we will fill them with metals that kill their minds and steal their future. And when their ability to learn has been affected, we will create more drugs that will make them sicker and cause them other illnesses, for which we will create even more drugs. We will make them docile and weak before us by our power. They will grow depressed, slow, and obese. And when they come for us to help, we will give them more poison. We will focus our attention on money and material goods so they never connect with their inner self. We will distract them with fornication, external pleasures, so that they are never one with the unity of all. Their minds will belong to us, and they will do as we say. And if they refuse, we will find ways to implement technologies that alters the mind in their lives. We will use fear as a weapon. We will establish their governments, and we will establish opposition within them. We will own both sides. We will always hide our goal, but we will continue our plan. They will do the work for us, and we will prosper from their toil. Our families will never mix with theirs, and our blood, it must be pure because it is. We will make them kill each other when they oppose us. We will keep them separate from unity through dogma and religion, and we will control all aspects of their lives and tell them what to think and how. We will guide them kindly and let them believe that they are guiding themselves. We will instigate animosity among them through our factions. When a light shines among them, we will extinguish it by mockery or death, whichever suits us. We will make them tear their hearts apart and kill their own children. We will accomplish this using hatred as our ally, anger as our friend. Hatred will completely blind them, and they will never see that in their conflicts we will be their leaders. They will be killing each other. They will bathe in their own blood and kill their neighbours as long as we see that they are against us. We will benefit greatly from this, for they will not see us, for they cannot see us. We will continue to prosper from their wars and their deaths. We will repeat this until our ultimate goal is achieved. We will continue to make them live in fear and anger, and we will give them images and sounds. We will use all tools we have to achieve this. The tools will be provided by their work, and we will make them hate themselves and their neighbours. We will always hide the divine truth from them, that we are all one. That he must never know. They must never know that colour is an illusion. They must always believe that they are not equal. And drop by drop by drop by drop, we will advance our goal. We will take over their lands and resources and wealth to exercise control over them. We will trick them into accepting laws that will steal the little freedom they have. We will set up money systems that will shut them down forever, keeping them and their children at debt. When we band them together, we will accuse them of murder and present a different story to the world because we own all media. We will use this media to control the flow of information and their feelings in our favour. When they rise up against us, we will crush them like insects because they are less than that. They will be helpless to do anything about it.
The Rockefellers are one of the most powerful, richest, elite families in the world. John D. Rockefeller was the guy who really blew up the entire oil industry in America. And what they do, and the reason why they're still one of the wealthiest and most powerful families on the planet 7 generations later, is because of something called the Rockefeller waterfall method. The Vanderbilts were just as powerful and actually had more money than them. They blew all of their money by the 4th generation. The Vanderbilts literally are not even part of the conversation anymore. What is the waterfall method? The waterfall method is every single individual of the Rockefeller family got a very large life insurance policy put on them. The beneficiaries of those life insurance policies always tied back to the trust. And then inside of the trust was a cash value life insurance policy, which is used as the family bank. Now the family bank is inside the trust, so it acts as like a family vault. Now all the family members can take loans from the cash value life insurance throughout their whole life. When they die and pass away, that death benefit pays it all back, therefore replenishing all the funds that they use throughout their life. And with every single generation, the family trust just keeps getting poured in with more and more and more and more money, therefore making the family richer and more powerful, therefore creating generational wealth.
Until the time of his death in 1938, John D. Rockefeller awoke in a cold sweat for fear that he would lose his vast fortune. He inculcated this fear in other members of his family. John D.'s daughter, Bessie Strong, ended her life, according to the family biographer William Manchester, with the pitiful fear that she would die penniless. Winifred Rockefeller Emeny, John D.'s grandniece, murdered her 2 children and committed suicide because of a fear of poverty. Another niece, Gladys, at age 21, was hospitalized for her mental condition. After each meal, she would save every crust of bread and every scrap of meat for fear that she could not afford another meal. Mary Clark Rockefeller, Nelson's first wife, said that her husband, despite his income of $1 million a minute, was even more penny-pinching and penurious than his grandfather. Mrs. Rockefeller further testified that Nelson spied on the domestic help to make sure that they did not eat too much food.
Around the same time that John D. Rockefeller seized U.S. media, he also hijacked U.S. medicine. When it was discovered that drugs could be produced from petroleum, America's top oil mogul ordered his army of propagandists to invert reality accordingly. Medicines used for thousands of years were suddenly classified as alternative, while the new, petroleum-based, highly addictive, and patentable drugs were declared the gold standard. After buying a German pharmaceutical company that manufactured chemicals of war for Adolf Hitler, Rockefeller leveraged his political influence by pressing Congress to declare natural healing modalities unscientific quackery. Rockefeller then took control of the American Medical Association and began offering massive grants to top medical schools under the mandate that only his approved curriculum be taught. Any mention of the healing powers of herbs, plants, and diet was erased from most medical texts.
I just tell the truth, and telling the truth is crazy in a world full of lies.